Hey, so I just completed a couple hundred miles down from Paso Robles, California in this 1983 320i BMW. After a couple hundred miles, I'm thinking the car will do just fine to get us across the country. I'm actually more concerned about my body than I am the car. Actually made it down to the Peterson. I'm actually sitting in the parking garage of the Peterson Museum right now, about ready to go in, and I just wanted to give a quick video of my first experience in the car, which overall was pretty good. I mean, the car drives as good as a 40-year-old vehicle is going to. Hey, Sean here. So I haven't given you a tour of the 83 BMW 320i S just yet, so I figured I got an opportunity right now. I am in Oceanside, California. I've driven the car a couple hundred miles so far. My concern was an overheating issue because when you run the AC, the car tends to run a little hot. So to avoid that issue, I have yet to turn the AC on during the trip. I've just had windows down, and it's worked out pretty well for me so far. However, I have had an issue when I stopped at the Peterson Museum, and I was there for a few hours. When I went to go and start the car later that evening, it refused to start. It sounded like I wasn't getting fuel to the car. We did call AAA to see what they would be able to do, and after an hour and a half of waiting for them, I canceled it, tried to start the car again. It started, and I drove a couple hours south, and now I'm in Oceanside, California. So I'll give you a tour of the car right now. So here she is, in all her glory. You know, it's a 40-year-old car. I've had to add the cup holders here. That was the first gas station stop to get one of those. The phone mount that I brought with me goes into vents, and it did not work in these vents, so I picked up this phone holder so I could access maps. I also forgot to grab one of these to charge the phone, and then of course the new Apple phones do not plug into USB ports anymore, so I had to get a cord for that. So already I had to get all that hardware just to be able to make it here. But you see the Recaro seats are pretty comfortable. I mean, it's not bad in here. You've got a little bit of the roof liner there. Doesn't look too great, but again, it's an old car, and I've been opening the sunroof while I drive anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. The gauges here, the odometer's mileage, it shows I've gone 49 miles. It's not entirely accurate. It is working intermittently. So it's safe to say that the car is showing 485,000 miles on it, but it's safe to assume there's definitely more than that on the car. Outside though, I mean, it looks pretty good. You got a little damage right there. It came with the car cover. We won't be needing that while it's in the museum. But you got the toolkit here. We got a few extra parts that I hope I do not need. You got the original old California tag on there. These are nice because I roll the windows down and then vent the back windows. And I mean, really, while I've been driving, I have not needed the AC. And then it cools down so much at night. I was actually cold last night and rolled the windows up. There's the motor. Nothing real special, but you can see how tiny that radiator is. So maybe a little inefficient for running AC and keeping the car cool, but not too bad overall. I have not tried to start the car today just yet. If I drive the car at all today, it won't be until later this evening. I'm actually going to a surprise location here in a little bit, but I've got a ride to take me back up to that. So until then, I'll give you an update on the next time I drive the old Beamer. Next museum stops are going to be the J.A. Cooley Museum in San Diego and the San Diego Auto Museum. And then it will be off to Arizona to the Martin Auto Museum, Franklin, and Tucson. All right, take care. Hey, Sean Mathis here. I am sitting in the parking lot of the San Diego Auto Museum, which is going to open up in like 5 minutes. So far on this trip, I've driven about 300 miles. I put gas in it twice. The first time was just to check to make sure how accurate the fuel gauge actually was, because it said it was pretty full still, but I didn't know if it was actually full, so I stopped, got gas. Wound up putting like I think $20 into it, which wasn't very many gallons because the cost of gas is like $5-6 a gallon, so crazy. I spent the last 2 nights in Oceanside thanks to Marisa. She let me stay in her vacation house. If you've visited Miles Through Time anytime between 2020 and 2021, you would have seen her Lincoln convertible that was originally part of Jimmy Carter's Secret Service. That was in the parade that he actually walked in front of. So it was pretty cool to be able to see her again and have that opportunity to stay there. I stayed the first night in the house that belonged to Lindy, who I got the car from. So saved cost staying anywhere there. I stayed the first night there. And then the last 2 nights was in Oceanside, and I kind of shuttled between museums there. I actually got to go to Jay Leno's Garage, and I saw Jay Leno yesterday. I actually went with Marisa so we could use her car to drive all the way back up to Burbank, north of LA, so I didn't have to risk driving this car, because I went to Peterson 2 days ago on Wednesday and got to talk to Leslie Kendall and toured the whole museum and everything. And then I actually left and went to the Zimmerman, the driving automobile museum, and checked that place out, and then went back to Peterson, which isn't very far between the two, but with all the traffic lights and traffic because of those traffic lights, it was 30 minutes one way. So I killed an hour of just driving in traffic. The car handled it just fine. And I got back to Peterson. I got to kind of tour the vault and talk to Kendall quite a bit. Was there until 6:15 after the place closed. Went out to the car, and it wouldn't start. And it wouldn't start for a while. And called AAA, waited for an hour and a half for them to come out. They never did come out. And I went back to the car, and I was like, maybe it'll just start. And sure enough, it fired up, and I was able to get out of there and drove from LA down to Oceanside. And that's kind of where I've been at so far. So 300 miles. I've got about $80 worth of fuel. I've had no expenses in lodging for this trip. I'm going to go into San Diego Automobile Museum and then J.A. Cooley Museum, which is, I think it's like 5 minutes away from here. And then I'm going to head east and go to Martin Auto Museum, that's in Glendale, Arizona. And then down and possibly to Franklin, and then definitely the Tucson Auto Museum. And then I've got definitely some open roads in front of me. As far as cooling and all that kind of stuff goes, I mean, I've been riding windows down, so it's been good. I can't talk on the phone because of that. So I'm either in museums or I'm driving, so communication by phone is pretty difficult. But other than that, it's been pretty cool. Not to mention I'm 3 hours behind from what I'm used to at home. So some of these time where it's like a regular time here in California, back home in Georgia, it's, you know, it could be 11 o'clock at night. But after J.A. Cooley, I think it's 5 hours to Glendale. So I'm thinking I might just drive pretty much the majority of the way this evening. I'm actually about a day behind schedule from what I originally thought, and that was mainly because I wasn't sure if Jay Leno's Garage was going to be a thing or not, and it wound up being a pretty cool thing. So I'm glad I took the extra time and was able to go in there. Unfortunately, pictures and videos and all that kind of stuff is not welcome. I was able to take a few pictures, but you can't share all that stuff on social. But as far as the collection goes, if you ever get an opportunity to go into Jay Leno's Garage, I highly recommend it. It's extremely impressive. Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't get to actually talk to Jay Leno, but I did see him and was within a couple feet from him. He was just busy talking to some other guys, getting their moment with Jay. And by the time I got back around, he was MIA. But it's fine. I'm sure I'll get another opportunity to meet him. Hopefully one day he comes out to Miles for Your Time and sees what we've created there. So until next time. It's so hot! Hey, so it is the end of day 3 of driving the e21 BMW that's about 40 years old. And everything's been great, aside from a slight little starting hiccup at Peterson Auto Museum. Made it down to San Diego just fine. Got to see J.A. Cooley Museum, San Diego Auto Museum. And then I headed east. And to get over the mountain pass, that was a little tricky with the car getting hot. I climbed up to over 4,100 feet elevation. The car made it, but it was getting warm. My top speed is like 70, but I'm really averaging somewhere between 60 and 65. It doesn't really like to cruise that much faster. And I was going good, and then all of a sudden the car started to like lunge while I was driving. And so I happened to, like, out in the middle of nowhere, was able to pull over into like the one gas station out of nowhere. As I was pulling in, the car died. I actually had to get out and push the car back into a parking space, which was actually in the shade, which worked out well. And I wound up going into the gas station and getting some more fuel injector cleaner, popped that in there, waited around just a little bit. It fired up. I was able to drive off, and I made it maybe 10 miles or so, and then the car started to do that chugging, lunging feeling, and I almost was like, oh man, I gotta swing into a rest stop or I was gonna be stranded on the side of the road. There was a couple more stops where I was like, should I go in there? And I was like, nah, I'll just keep going. I was feathering it, and I had slowed my speed, so I was doing 50, 55 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden, it stopped doing that, and I was good the rest of the way, the next 150 miles. I just drove 6.5 hours, and I'm not gonna lie, it absolutely sucked. I feel like I was in an air fryer the entire time. I think I checked, the highest temperature was 114 degrees. It absolutely awful. At one point, the car almost got all the way into the red, and I don't know how accurate the gauge is. The car still, aside from the lunging, the car itself, I couldn't see any steam or anything that was like obviously that the car was overheating. And when I stopped, I popped the hood, and nothing looks like it's boiling or anything like that. So temperature-wise, it should be good, but like I definitely cannot turn the AC on. I almost got to the hotel. It's dark. It's still 100 degrees outside. I turned the AC on just briefly. I was like, I'm close enough in case it breaks down. And immediately I could see the temperature gauge go up. The power of the car went down. So, I don't have AC. So I might have to reevaluate my trip home. It sucks. The triple digits like that when you get way up there, absolutely brutal. Luckily, the Recaro seats are pretty comfortable in the car. But other than that, like the car, there's no power steering, there's no cruise control, no radio. So I'm just sunroof open, windows down, cruising. I mean, you can smell everything there is to smell, which is pretty crazy. Some of it does not smell good. I mean, driving the bypass from Highway 8 up to 10 to Phoenix, Went through a patch where it was like nothing but rattlesnake sounds out there, or some sort of beetle or something, but it sounded like rattlesnakes. It went on for miles. So it's kind of cool to actually be out there and experience everything, but the heat sucks. I think if it wasn't so hot, the car would probably do better. But it is what it is on timing, so hopefully I make it home. But I'm going to be at the Martin Auto Museum tomorrow to check out their new location. But after that, I might be hightailing it home before I melt, possibly, because I'm lobstered. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I am red and miserable. So this is my first night in a hotel since Tuesday. I've been spoiled in California. Not only was the temperatures not bad at all, especially at night it cooled down, but I got to stay in fantastic houses and nothing's cost me a dime until tonight. Hotel fees suck. $136 turned into $175 real quick, but at least there's air conditioning. So until next time. All right, day 4. It is 7:45 in the morning. 96 degrees here in Phoenix. It's hot. So I'm heading to go get a truck and trailer to put this thing on a trailer to finish the rest of the trip. I don't think it's going to make it. At this point, it's not a matter of if it breaks down, it's a matter of when. And I really don't feel like dying out in the middle of the desert. This heat is crazy. I'm all burnt on my arm and my head and face and everything from yesterday, and that was just a 6-hour drive. My top speed is like 70 miles an hour, and I'm really averaging between 60 and 65. So it's going to take me forever, and I've got 2 full days of just nothing but driving out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm heading to U-Haul right now. So this is the first morning start. Let's see if I go anywhere. See? Not wanting to start. Not a good sign. Good thing I got the U-Haul. Shit. Might have to go to plan B. Or I guess plan C. He's not wanting to start. Alright. Poop. It's been a little while. Car still won't start. I'm still stuck here in the parking lot. My guess is the fuel pump. It's losing prime. It doesn't sound like it's completely getting fuel, but every once in a while it sounds like it might be maybe getting there, in between possibly flooding it. I don't know, man. We'll keep trying. There's my Uber driver. Driver of shame, take me to U-Haul. So this is what it's come down to. I gotta either get the car started and drive it on there, or I gotta push it on. Let's find out. This thing seriously just fired right up when I got in the car after the U-Haul trailer. Unbelievable. But at least I don't have to push it onto the trailer. Alright, I got it on the trailer. This thing still didn't sound like it was very healthy, so even though it did start it, I got lucky enough to drive it onto the trailer. There's no way this thing was going to make it the whole way. So I'm going to get it buttoned up and head over to Martin Auto Museum and then head home. Alright, so now that I got AC the rest of the time, it may be 100 degrees, but I treated myself to some coffee, which did not sound appealing whatsoever in this car, but since this is my new reality, I'm gonna have some coffee. I'm on my way to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm in the petrified forest on Highway 40. We got monsoon weather. Nice cool down here. I actually kind of wish I was in the Beamer now. Might be nice and cool. Hey, day 5. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Got here late last night. Now it's early morning. I am heading east on Highway 40, Route 66 now because of the issues here with the car. Went a little more north just so it wasn't quite so hot, and hopefully a little bit more direct. I'm going to make a quick stop at Route 66 Museum, then a quick stop at Russell's Truck Stop, which has a car museum in it, believe it or not, and then I'm going to keep heading east as far as I can and see where I got to go next. I planned as best as I could and pretty much threw it out the window once I hit Phoenix and went a completely different route. So I really have no idea how long anything's going to take or when I'm going to get back now. So I'm going as fast as I can and still trying to see as much as I can at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Hey, Sean here. It's day 6 of bringing the 83 e21 back to Miles Through Time in Georgia from California. As you can see, I'm on a trailer still, and that is because for the last 1,300 miles, I've been driving this U-Haul truck because the car was not going to make it the entire way. I had some setbacks, so yesterday I got some windshield time and drove about 850 miles to make it to Conway, Arkansas. I'm about 2.5 hours away from Edge Motor Museum this morning, and then I'm going to head south to Barber Motorsports Museum, and then I got one more night before I make it. So hopefully the plan is back on schedule, and I should be at Miles Through Time on Tuesday. Hey, Sean Mathis here. Day 7 of bringing the BMW e21 320IS to Miles Through Time from Paso Robles, California. All in all, it was over 2,700 miles. The old Beamer made it about 900 miles before it had to get trailered the rest of the way. But all in all, it was a successful trip. I visited 10 different automotive museums across the country, including, or not including, I should say, Jay Leno's Garage, which was pretty awesome to be able to see. Not a museum, but definitely a museum-worthy collection. So here it is, from California to Georgia. You can now see this 1983 320i S on display in the museum, and I'll be able to write up the story here pretty soon and tell you a little bit more. I'll have a recap video of the whole thing in the future, but for now, there it is. You can come check it out. Well, that's a wrap. The 83 320i BMW is on display in the museum now. I've got to create a sign and bring that back on Saturday so that it goes with the car and people can read the story behind the car, because that is probably, most likely, the highest mileaged E21 that's out there. It's got 500,000 miles on it, one family owned, and now it's a part of the museum's permanent collection. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to sell the car to pay for the trip to get it here. Only half joking. But I am going to return the U-Haul mess now and wrap this up. Until next time.